Li San copied it with a smile and said, "These are very ordinary, and they are not a problem. What is next?" The little evil said, "Mix the medicine with water, boil it in the fire, and boil it in the medicine for 21 days, and if you cannot die, you can practice this miracle." Li Sangxiao thought while copying, "Boiling in boiling water for 21 days, isn't this a death, isn't it?" He became suspicious and said, "Then there is this kind of practice. Boy, are you lying to me? You want to cook me to death, don't you?" Xiaoxie smiled indifferently and said, "If you don't believe it, old ghost, I'll show you these things first, and then you should always believe me." Li San smiled and thought, "This also makes sense. If this kid deceives me, I will boil him to death." He said, "Okay, I'll get it tomorrow. What's next?" Little Evil said, "Don't worry, I will read it to you if I say I will read it to you. If this kung fu is simple, it can't be said to be the first in the world, right? I first want to see if the medicine is enough, and then see if you are suitable for practicing this kung fu. If not, I will teach you another way." Ji San smiled greedily and said, "Is there another way?" Xiaoxie shook his head and said, "Lauer, you don't know this. The reason why I don't tell you another method is because my Supreme Master Ancestor thinks that not every apprentice can practice this kung fu, so he also has a relatively poor practice method. Of course, the effect of practicing is relatively poor. If you can practice the best, why practice the second class, right?" Ji San smiled and thought about it, and felt that it made sense. He said, "What about after cooking for 21 days? 21 days later, I began to teach the inner strength of the mind." Ji San smiled and said, "Tell me about the internal strength method." Xiaoxie shouted, "Lauer, you are here again. It's not that I don't tell you, but this kung fu is divided into several kinds. If you can cook for 21 days, then my statement is the first. If you can't survive 21 days, I will teach you another. The most taboo in this door is to learn 2 kinds of kung fu at a time, and it is also taboo to know the first martial arts method if you can cook it for a few days, so that it is easy to kill people if they are all confused. You can rest assured that I am seriously injured and can run out of your palm, not to mention that you saved my life again. How can I not repay your kindness?" Ji San smiled, "Okay. I'll start preparing tomorrow." He decided to do so because he was sure that the little evil was injured and couldn't run away. Xiaoxie smiled, "Tomorrow, you will see what I do, and you have to write down the process. I have to soak it in the potion for 21 days to test the amount of medicine and the fire, and if there is something wrong, I will find a way to improve it, otherwise you will not be scalded to death by boiling water, and you will be poisoned to death." Ji San smiled and thought, "This little watch is for my sake. If you can really practice peerless martial arts, then even if you wait for another 10.5 years. He said, "Then I'll go and prepare, come. This is dry food, you two eat it well, I'll go." With that, he took out a bag of things and walked out. "Wait a minute!" exclaimed the little demon. Ji San smiled and turned around in surprise and said, "What's the matter with the little brother?" The little evil said, "You just untie my little sister's A-cup ointment, and then ban her martial arts, so that she can't escape. I also have someone to take care of, and your snake friends, you can let them out." Ji Sangxiao now regards Xiaoxie as a good friend. He doesn't care about these little things, nodding. He has unlocked Han Ling's A-cup ointment and then sealed her martial arts, and dispersed the snakes, before he said, "Is there anything else wrong with the young brother?" "It's okay, the old man is leaving. Don't you want to escape? There are at least hundreds of thousands of poisonous snakes around outside. If you get out of the hole, you will be bitten to death immediately, but you must remember my words." Xiaoxie is the ancestor of the snake. What is he afraid of? But he was seriously injured and had to borrow heavy medicine to heal his injuries, so it was much better to stay here than outside. He said, "Don't worry, I will wait for you to come back. I am about to die. I want to pass on this martial arts to you. You go and come back quickly, otherwise you will regret it for life if I die." Li Sangziao was really afraid that he would die suddenly, so he stuffed 2 pills for the treatment of internal injuries and let Xiaoxie take it. He said, "Little brother, don't vent your anger. As long as you can pass on the kung fu to me, I will definitely find a way to save you. You have a good rest, I will go back quickly." He said that he had run out of the cave. As soon as Xiaoxie saw that Li Sangziao had walked out of the cave, he immediately laughed and said, "Shikao Kao, what? It's not so simple to learn this kung fu. Han Ling, come quickly." Han Ling didn't see it as much as him. She said quietly, "I'm here. See, what you say is out of the blue. What do you explain to others tomorrow? Let's run away." She thought that Xiaoxie lured Li Sangziao away to facilitate his escape. Xiaoxie said, "Escape? If you don't escape, you really want to jump into boiling water and boil for 21 days. The little evil laughed and said, "That's right, you're so smart, I can take a hot shower here." Han Ling sighed, "I'm dying in a hurry. You still have the heart to joke. I'll take you away, it's too late." The little evil sighed, "Since you are in such a hurry, you can take me away." Han Ling was overjoyed and immediately deceived herself to pick up Xiao Ye, but unfortunately her martial arts were sealed as ordinary people, and a weak woman was injured again. How could she move Xiao Ye's behemoth body? It was okay not to move. She was so anxious that she cried out. She really couldn't move. "Little evil, you won't die. I'm going to take you with me. You can't die." Han Liang's heart was like a knife. She wanted to do her best, but her strength was insufficient and she was unwilling to give up. That kind of torment was not something that could be described by pen and ink. Xiaoxie couldn't bear to see her crying. "Han Ling, don't cry at every turn. Didn't I tell you you can't pull me away now? And besides, there are poisonous snakes outside, and we can't get out, so let's walk together when I'm better." Han Ling really had nothing to do. She said quietly, "Then what will you do tomorrow?" "You deceived him." Xiaoxie smiled, "I deceived him a little, but there is also truth in falsehood. I really want to soak in medicine for 21 days, that is to cure my injuries." Han Ling said quietly, "Originally, I believed what you said, but if a person wants to boil it in boiling water, I definitely won't believe it, and I can't believe it." The little evil said, "What's so strange about this? Don't you know that the iron sand palm is to be practiced in the red-hot iron sand? But that's not the same as submerging the whole person in water." "It's the same. First we soak in warm water, and then we keep heating it slowly, and then we can get used to the heat, which of course takes a long time, and we have to use medicine to help it. Although what you said has some truth, but you have only been a child for more than 10 years, can you?" Xiaoxie smiled and said, Don't forget that my name is Yang Xiaoxie. If it weren't for a little evil, my boss wouldn't have called me Xiaoxie. Han Ling knew that he was a bit evil, but few people could believe this kind of thing, and she said, but I'm still a little worried. Xiaoxie said, Han Ling, don't be so dead-eyed, be cheerful, even if you lie to him, you won't be exposed for a while, maybe my injuries will be much better at that time, and I will have a little more strength to escape. Han Ling really has no choice, only to believe in Xiaoxie again. She can drag on one day and one day. She believes that Xiaoxie has the ability to deceive for a few more days. She said quietly, okay, it's up to you, we will eat the dried grain. She opened the dry grain, which was meat and bread. The little evil said, wait a minute, you take out the gold needle on my body, my mouth hurts a lot. Han Ling put down the dry grain, took out the gold needle from him, and said, where do you want to go? The little evil said, I read your stab. Have you ever stabbed? I've been stabbed, but I'm not familiar with it, but I'm okay with it. The little evil nodded and said, it's okay to recognize the acupuncture points. Fortunately, you don't need internal force to pierce the golden needle. Ordinary people can also stab it, but you have to grasp the piercing into the flesh for a few minutes, otherwise you will hurt the blood meridians. I'm careful to take it slowly. Okay. Han Ling immediately stabbed at the shoulder well a cup ointment. Xiaoxie felt very satisfied and read it again. 3 points for Tianqi, 5 points for the period, 3 points for Cookie, 5 points for Jade Tree, 3 points for Tiantu, 3 points for Vortum, 3 inches for the right shoulder well, 2 points for Yangqi, and 1 point for Tianjing. From head to toe, Xiaoxie took 2 minutes to complete the pricking work.